Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Premanandi, Jayam Vishnupad Paramamsa Parivrajikacharya Astottara Satashishi Mata's Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga, glory to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Instructions for civilized human beings. Text 62 to 64. 64 is on the board. So I'll start by saying the Sanskrit for 62 and 63 by myself. Bhāvādvaitam kriyādvaitam dravadvaitam tahatmanaha vartayan svanubhutyeha trin swapnan dunate muni. Text 63. Karya karana vastvaikya darshanam patatantuvat avastutvad vikalpasya bhāvādvaitam taduchyate. And now text 64. So repeat after me. Yat brahmani pare sakshat sarva karma samarpanam manovaktanubi pare sakshat sarva karma samarpanam Manovaktanubi Partha kriyādvaitam taruchyate Yad Brahmani Pare Sakshat Sarva Karma Samarpanam Manovaktanubi Partha kriyādvaitam taruchyate. Devotees. Mataji's? So I'll start reading the English translations from text 62. So text 62 translation. After considering the oneness of existence, activity, and paraphernalia, and after realizing the self to be different from all actions and reactions, the mental speculator, muni, according to his own realization, gives up the three states of wakefulness, dreaming, and sleep. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The three words bhāvādvaitam, kriyādvaitam, and dravadvaitam are explained in the following verses. However, one has to give up all the non-duality of philosophical life in the material world and come to the actual life of reality in the spiritual world in order to attain perfection. Text 63. Translation. When one understands that result and cause are one, and that duality is ultimately unreal, like the idea that the threads of a cloth are different from the cloth itself, one reaches the conception of oneness called bhāvādvaitam. Text 64, translation. My dear Yudhiṣṭhira, Pārtha, when all activities one performs with his mind, body, mararpanam, O son of Kunti, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer and give away, as well as all austerities you may perform, should be done as an offering unto me. If whatever we do, whatever we eat, whatever we think, and whatever we plan is for the advancement of the Krishna consciousness movement, this is oneness. There is no difference between chanting for Krishna consciousness and working for Krishna consciousness. On the transcendental platform, they are one. But we must be guided by the spiritual master about this oneness. We should not manufacture our own oneness. Om Jnana-Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur-Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragnatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Param Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostite Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Kriyādvaita Gadadhara Shrivasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Desire trees who can fulfill the desires of everyone and are full of compassion. So please be compassionate on this fallen soul and fulfill my desire to please the Srila Prabhupada and Guru Parampara by speaking some transcendental words. So in this verse, these verses are talking about oneness. Specifically, there are three kinds of oneness that are being introduced in text 62, and then 63 and 64 talk about two of the three. So the first one is called bhāvādvaita, which means oneness of existence. And the second is kriyādvaita, which is mentioned in 64, which means oneness of activities. So in this class I'm going to talk about how we are one and how we are not one, and the different varieties of oneness that we may experience and should experience as devotees. So first of all, I'll tell you about an interesting experience that I had while I was listening to a class of Srila Prabhupada. This class was, Srila Prabhupada was explaining, he was describing the Vaikuntha planets, and he was saying that on this Vaikuntha planet, Lord Vishnu is present in the form of, and he named the form of Vishnu and described the form of Vishnu, and then another Vaikuntha planet where another form of Vishnu is present, and then he was going on and one after the other, all of these Vaikuntha planets, and stressing the point that in every planet, Lord Vishnu is there, and he's the center of attraction for all activities, and everything is just for him. And wherever you go, Lord Vishnu is there. And then I had this thought. It was actually quite a shocking thought for me because, I thought, well, I'm a devotee, and I was thinking I'm actually maybe a pretty good devotee, but I had this very startling thought that was that, oh my God, you can't get away from him. You're probably not going to ask me to do class again now, right? So I was thinking, whoa, where did that come from? We're supposed to be devotees of Krishna that, I really want to see you, I really want to be with you, and I'm thinking, I want to get away from Krishna. And so I realized that, that's why I'm here in the material world, is because that thought crossed my mind before. And that brought me here. But actually, if we examine the material world, so this material world is actually, Krishna created this whole material world, the material universes, for people like me to get away from Krishna. To feel like we're separate from him and we can do our own thing here and be free and do whatever we want. But actually, as we know, at least we should know, it's all an illusion. Because there's nothing separate from Krishna. Because Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate, that I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds, everything emanates from me. And we know that Krishna is the cause of all causes, that he is sarva karanam, as it says in Brahma Samhita. So Krishna is the source of everything, the cause of everything is resting upon him, Bhagavad Gita 9.4, he says, Mayam tatam midam sarvam jagad avyakta murtina. So in his unmanifested form, this jagad avyakta, unmanifested form, the entire universe is pervaded. So Krishna is, so in that sense, if we actually understand this material world and what it's for and where it's come from, then we can see that Krishna is very present in the world, and that actually this world is non-different from him, in a sense, not in every sense, but in a sense. Just in the same way that the example is given in text 63, that the result and the cause are one, and that duality is ultimately unreal, in the same way that the threads of a cloth are not different from the cloth itself. So here, for example, on the table we have a tablecloth. So is it a cloth or is it threads? It's both, right? You can't say that it's not threads, and we can't say that it's not a cloth. It's both a cloth and threads. But if you're sitting far away, if you're examining it close, especially if you're looking at it under a magnifying glass or a low-power microscope, you can see that it's nothing but threads. In fact, if you look at it like that, you can almost not see that it's a cloth and just see the threads. And if you're from a distance, you're going to see only the cloth, and you're not even going to think about the fact that it's a lot of threads. So in the same way, the more distant we are from Krishna, the less we are able to perceive that this world is non-different from him. Or the less we're able to be conscious and aware, fully aware of his presence in the world. And the closer we come to Krishna, the more acutely aware we are that everything is Krishna, that Krishna is everything, he's the source of everything, he's within everything, he's without everything, he's in between every atom, and he's within our own hearts. And his material nature is working under his direction. Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam. So Krishna is, so this world is, as Krishna is the cause and the world is the result, so that is called bhāvādvaita, or oneness of existence. So then bhāvādvaita, oneness of existence, leads to kriyādvaita, or oneness of activities. How is that? Because if we continue with Bhagavad Gita 10.8, iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha, that the wise who perfectly know this, who know what? That Krishna is the source of all material and spiritual worlds, and that everything emanates from him, do what? Engage in his devotional service and worship him with all of their hearts. So by understanding that Krishna is everything, then the automatic result of that is to serve Krishna. And that is kriyādvaita, oneness of activities. As Srila Prabhupada quotes this verse 927, do that for Krishna. And that is oneness of activities. So if we look at our, let's say we can look at ourselves as we're all members of ISKCON. So ISKCON is one thing. So there is one thing called ISKCON, but it is composed of many. Right? It's one composed of many. In the same way that the cloth is one cloth, but composed of many threads. So as members of ISKCON, we're all different. It's not that because ISKCON is one, every member of ISKCON is homogeneous. You know, like homogenized milk. Or, homogenized mixture, that any drop of that mixture, if you take it out, is exactly the same as any other. So Srila Prabhupada explains in Bhagavad Gita chapter 15, text 16, that this oneness that we have as devotees is a oneness of purpose. So although we're very different, we have our own opinions, we have our own, we do different services, we have our own talents, and we may not always disagree. Often we fight with each other over, what's the best way to serve Krishna. Right? Some devotees think, we should all go out and Harinam, that's the best thing. No, it's book distribution. No, it's, university preaching, or it's, building big temples and having elaborate deity worship to attract people to come. So we may have conflicts of interest and disagreements about different services, but actually we have a oneness of purpose, and that is that we all want to spread Krishna consciousness, because ultimately Harinam, deity worship, book distribution, different forms of preaching, they're all with the intent of spreading Krishna consciousness. So that is our oneness of purpose. And even though we do different services during the day, ultimately we're all eternal servants of Krishna. That Jivera Swarapahoi, Krishnara Nityadas, that this is our constitutional position. So I was thinking that this is why the morning program is very important, because let's say by 10 o'clock we're all doing different services during the day. Somebody is a teacher, somebody is a student, somebody is a pujari, somebody is a cook, somebody is in an office, is a manager, is a money changer, is a treasurer. So we all have our different designations according to our services. That during the day we all are apparently doing very different things. But when we come together in the morning, let's say 4:30 in the morning, we're all doing one thing, right? We're standing in front of the deities, we're singing the same song in one voice together, and there's no conception that, you know, I'm Indian, I'm American, I'm Chinese, I'm Spanish, or I'm male, the other one's female, or, you know, he's a pujari, I'm a cook, she's a teacher, he's a treasurer. It's all just, we're all devotees of Krishna, and it's very much this consciousness of Jivera Swarapoi, Krishnara Nityadas. When we stand before the deities and we, you know, pray, please engage me in your service. Please purify my heart so that I can come closer to you. We're all saying these same prayers, maybe in a slightly different way, but oneness of purpose, oneness of identity, that we are the servants of Krishna. When we chant japa together, we are the servants of Krishna. Lord, purify my heart, bring me closer to you, engage me in your service. So this is especially the morning program is a time where we come together and we really bond. We really, this is the unity, and the more that we participate in the morning program, at least some part of it, even if we can't do all of it, but some part of it, then the stronger we will become, both individually and collectively as a society. So this is a very important point that I wanted to make. So we've talked about oneness of existence, bhāvādvaita. We've talked about how bhāvādvaita leads to kriyādvaita. So I'd like to also talk about another aspect of oneness, and that is how in our lives as individuals that we that we have this oneness in terms of like eke hakurunandana, that our intelligence is focused, our determination is focused on one thing, and that is the pleasure of Guru and Krishna. Not that we're going this way, that way. Krishna says that the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched. They're thinking of many different things. And Krishna talks about this in text 63. Not Krishna, this is the words of Narada Muni. He says, text 64. When all the activities one performs with mind, words, and body are dedicated directly to the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one reaches the oneness of activities called kriyādvaita. So we can ask ourselves, are all the activities of my mind dedicated directly to the service of Krishna? Are all the activities of all of my words dedicated directly to the service of Krishna? And are all the activities of my body dedicated directly to the service of Krishna? And if our answer is no to any of these questions, then ultimately it's like we're living two lives. We're living one life for me and another life for Krishna. So I come to the temple and I'm a devotee and everything's perfect, and then I go home and I have my own things going on, right? That's different from really what a devotee's life should be. So if we're living this sort of double life, then it creates an internal conflict which can weaken us as devotees. It can destroy our determination. It can destroy our confidence and our resolve to be devotees, to attain the highest perfection. And ultimately it can keep us in the material world if the balance tips too far to one side. So we should be very careful with body, mind, words. We do that with every part of our being. So not two lives. And we should have faith in doing this, that simply by dedicating all of our activities directly to Krishna, that's like watering the root of the tree, and that everything else will be taken care of. And like Srila Prabhupada speaks at length about the commentary of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur on that verse, Eke Hakurananda Bhagavad Gita 241, that we should make the order of a spiritual master our life and soul, and think of nothing else, even in dreams. So this is our oneness, that we single-pointed focus, single vision, and focus on one goal, one life, and that life is for Krishna only. So that's one aspect of oneness, that everything that we do was one life for one purpose, and that is the purpose of pleasing Krishna. And another aspect of oneness is that not only should we not live two lives, we should live one life, but we should be careful not to live half a life or 3/4 of a life. What I mean by that is, if you think of each of us as like one unit, let's say each one of us as human beings, as living entities, is a single unit of being. But within us, there are many different dimensions. So you could look at, we have a physical dimension, we have a mental, intellectual dimension, we have a social dimension, and we have an emotional dimension. So if we are serving Krishna, let's say, 24 hours a day, fully dedicating all of our physical activities, in other words, we're working very hard for Krishna all day long, but our minds are somewhere else. Our minds are completely disengaged from the activity that we're doing. Or we're intellectually not, we don't know why we're doing these things, so we're intellectually disengaged. Or let's say maybe we're studying, we're intellectually engaged, we're studying, and but what about our emotional side? What are we feeling? Are we connected with how we're feeling? Are we really doing it with love for Krishna? Or we expect so different facets of our being. Because he wants it all. He doesn't only want our bodies. He doesn't only want our minds. He doesn't only want, a part of us. He wants the whole thing. Every aspect of our being. And if we look at, especially, I think something that I've been thinking a lot about recently is sort of the emotional side of our existence is something that we often neglect. We tend to, deny our feelings or think that it's not very important. And especially when we have negative emotions, we try to sweep them under the carpet, push them down. No, I'm not supposed to be angry. I'm not supposed to be sad. I'm not supposed to be depressed. Because, susukam kartamavya, and this process is joyfully performed. What's wrong with me that I'm angry? What's wrong with me that I'm feeling really depressed? Maybe sometimes we even feel suicidal. We feel like there's no hope. And those are actual feelings that we shouldn't just press down and put under the carpet, because if we do, they're going to come up in again, and we need to deal with that, because ultimately we need to offer all of that to Krishna. We need to purify it and dovetail it and make it a suitable offering for Krishna. Because if we look at Krishna's pastimes, if we look at Krishna Lila, or if we look at Gaura Lila, it's not about mechanical service. It's not even about intellectualizing. It's all about emotions. I was thinking of the pastime of Jagadananda. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's this really sweet pastime that Lord Chaitanya is in Puri, and Jagadananda, he gets this scented sandalwood oil prepared, and he brings a whole pot of it, and with great care and attention, he carries it all the way to Puri, and he gives it to Lord Chaitanya's servant, Govinda. And he tells him, Govinda, when you do the massage on Lord Chaitanya, use a little bit of this oil every day on his head, that it will, relieve him of any kind of, whatever disturbances, and it will cool him and make him peaceful and like that. So he really wanted to offer this sandalwood oil for massaging Lord Chaitanya. But when Govinda gave it to Lord Chaitanya, he said, what is this? I'm a sannyasi. I can't accept sandalwood oil. What are people going to think of me? This totally goes against the regulated principles of the renounced order of life. People are going to think I've been seeing women, when I walk the street and they smell this scented, fragrant oil on my head. It's going to be a complete disgrace for me. I can't accept it. And then, so after some days, he called Jagadananda. He said, look, Jagadananda, I'm in the renounced order. I can't accept this sandalwood oil. Why don't you take it to the Jagannath temple and offer it to the pujaris, and they can burn it in the lamps, and that way it won't be wasted. It will be used in the service of the Lord, and your offering will be fruitful. So Jagadananda became so angry. He said, who told you this lie that I brought this sandalwood oil? I never did such a thing. Why would I bring oil for you? And he picked up the whole pot of oil and he smashed it on the floor. And he went to his room, he slammed the door, bolted the lock, and stayed there in his room for like 3 days. He wouldn't talk to anyone, he wouldn't eat. He was just had it. So this is anger. This is real anger, right? He's not just faking it. He's very upset. And after 3 days, Lord Chaitanya knocks on his door. Jagadananda. Jagadananda answers, I want you to cook for me today. Please, can you cook for me today? I'm going to take darshan at Lord Jagannath, and I'll be back after some time, and please have the prasadam ready. So Jagadananda immediately jumps up and took a shower and put on clean clothes. He went to the kitchen. He cooked so many preparations with so much love. And Lord Chaitanya came back. He served the Lord so much. And actually Lord Chaitanya was he was afraid to upset Jagadananda again. So Jagadananda was feeding him, and Lord Chaitanya just kept eating, although it was more than he ate 10 times more than he would normally eat, but he was afraid to say no, because he didn't want to upset Jagadananda again. And then ultimately got to the point where he was just like, that's enough. But actually before he started eating, he said, Jagadananda, spread another banana leaf and you sit next to me. We're going to take prasadam together. But Jagadananda wouldn't have it. He said, no, you're the Lord, I'm your servant, I'm going to eat afterwards. And then he proceeded to feed him and feed him and feed him. And then, then after Lord Chaitanya finished eating, he said, okay, now Jagadananda, you sit here and eat in front of me, because he knew that he hadn't eaten for days. God knows how many days, at least 3 days while he was in his room. But even 10 days before that, he wasn't talking to anyone, and possibly wasn't eating, ever since he knew that Lord Chaitanya wouldn't accept the oil. So he said, now you sit there and I'm going to watch you eat. But Jagadananda said, no, I have to also serve prasadam for the devotees who helped me to cook. So Lord Chaitanya went to take rest, and Govinda came. And when Govinda finally reported back to Lord Chaitanya that Jagadananda had actually taken prasadam, only then could he be peaceful and go to sleep. So you see that the pastimes of the Lord are full of emotion, and all kinds of emotion, full range of emotion. Because when we use all of these things in Krishna's service, then they all become, they all enhance our relationship with Krishna. Actually, they don't take away from it. That's why there's instructions in Nectar of Instruction about how to control, like anger, for example. Krodha Vegam, that we control our anger by becoming angry when devotees are offended, for example. And he gives examples of Hanuman and like that. So, but ultimately, so the point is that we need to serve Krishna not just with our bodies, not just with our mind, with everything. We need to give 100%, full surrender. And when we're fully surrendered to Krishna, then what's the result? We were hearing on Gaur Govinda Maharaj's appearance day, we were hearing this. How many of you heard that class by Gaur Govinda Maharaj? It was a very ecstatic class. That if we surrender to Krishna partially, then he, yeyatam mam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajamyaham, that he reciprocates partially. The way Krishna reciprocates with our surrender is that he reveals himself to us. So if we surrender partially, he reveals himself partially. But if we surrender fully, then he reveals himself. He basically gives himself to the devotee. And when he reveals his transcendental qualities, when he reveals the transcendental nature of his name, of his pastimes, of his form, then understand that Krishna is all attractive, and we're fully attractive. Like he is the transcendental Kamadev. Like in the Gayatri Mantra, we have Kamadev and Pushpabanaya, that he has these flower arrows, and he shoots the devotee with flower arrows. And there's particularly, Satyananda Swami talks about these 5 flower arrows in particular, and they are the sweetness of his words, the softness of his touch, the divine aroma of his body, like that, the qualities of Krishna, and the irresistible attraction of his dealings with his devotees. So when we become fully aware and we realize the true nature of Krishna, then no longer are we going to have thoughts like, oh my God, we can't get away from him. Because we just want to be with Krishna all the time. Because he's so attractive, he's so irresistible that, when you have a profound realization of Krishna as the Supreme Personality and all that entails, then, you just always want to be with him. So, and that desire is what qualifies us to go back to the spiritual world. Because, as Prabhupada says in the purport of text 62, he says that, he talks about the three words, bhāvādvaita and kriyādvaita, and tomorrow you'll hear about dravadvaita, are explained. However, one has to give up all the non-duality, all these aspects of oneness, of philosophical life in the material world, and come to the actual life of reality in the spiritual world in order to attain perfection. So we may understand that, Krishna is pervading this world, Krishna is non-different from the material world, but that's not enough. Even in this material world, we're doing everything for Krishna, wholly and solely for Krishna, but we need to go beyond that, because we're still in material bodies, we're still in material world, and what we're doing here is basically making the best use of a bad bargain. It's not that, our activities in devotional service are still real, but because, in the sense, we're not 100% aware of our eternal constitutional relationship with Krishna. We're just doing our best under very difficult circumstances to serve Krishna. So even though we're giving 100% of effort to serving Krishna in this situation, but still we need to go beyond that. That's what Prabhupada's saying here, that ultimately we need to go beyond the oneness, these forms of oneness, of bhāvādvaitam, kriyādvaitam, dravadvaitam, and we need to get back to the absolute reality in the spiritual world. Because Narada Muni, he uses the phrase trin swapnam to describe the conditions of living in the material world. That swapna means dream. So he talks about the 3 phases of the swapna: dreaming, deep sleep, wakefulness. Thoughts that I wanted to share with you about oneness. Are there any questions or comments?
Thank you very much. Your realization of what is how Krishna is everywhere, and you think, oh no, everybody in my state.
Yeah.
So this is the mighty Purusha, the first one is the Purusha, these satsanga means like things representing this. So the Lord is everywhere, all places in the universe, but everything is beyond the edge of the universe. That means he's still holding on to the idea that there may be some place where Krishna is not. Maybe I have some more on the edge somewhere where Krishna doesn't have to be.
Okay.
So the mantra is he encompasses the whole universe, plus everything is beyond that. So there makes the notation life without Krishna.
There's nowhere to hide.
And there was a program of yogis and things like that, and Prabhupada provided the stage. And the Guru Das Prabhu was programming, and then after the program, Guru Das told another of the yogis that, and he spoke about oneness, everything is one, like Prabhupada's mind there, there's a duality, there's a reality, there's spiritual. No, everything is one. So then, he decided to start a blanket, I think, maybe talking about blanket something. So Guru Das, he pulled out one of the threads from the blanket, of this yogi blanket. He gave it to the yogi. He said, you take this, I'll take a blanket, and he blanket. And he said, no, you might make it. He said, no, it's all one. The thread and the blanket are the same. There's no distinction. So then the night came, it got really cold, and then that yogi came up to Guru Das. Okay, I'm going to accept your criticism. In fact, my blanket, I'm freezing cold.
Achintya Veda Veda Tattva.
It was very popular, this theory of oneness, and we wanted to become one, get into it. So, when I first met the devotees, it was in London, the temple, not the temple, the temple. It was a nightclub, it was called the temple, ironically. And the devotees used to say to each other, Hare Krishna, their headquarters. I've seen them a couple times before also myself. Anyway, they put the Swami said, and the chant and everything, we were raving away. And then they gave a talk, some talk from Kunda, I don't know, from Kunda. He gave the lecture, and he even saying, now we do everything for the one. Everything we do is for the one. And I thought, what's the difference between this group and the other groups then? They all understand the one. So what's the difference? I think he was trying to be cool, 2 o'clock in the morning, you have to have a casual kind of audience to go.
Yeah.
And say consciousness. So I think he was trying to be cool. And he didn't say Krishna. He was doing everything with one. Searching that time when I had spirit. But anyway, a year later, traveling around in India for but that was just a different work. He wants my house, but yeah, he was emphasizing one. So, that this is one of the first slokas I read in Prabhupada. I was reading Bhagavad-gītā, I couldn't understand. But one thing I couldn't really understand, which I could think of, about the Alani Alani. You get some Brahman that's colored condition, so you be colored. And another Brahman is liberated from the spiritual world, and I'm liberated from the liberated Brahman. And there's the Pārtha, Pārtha. He enters into that. Now you've got 3, you've got the conditioned Brahman, you've got the liberated Brahman, and the Pārtha. You're trying to get away from all duality, which is even a tree. So I couldn't understand that. When I read Bhagavad Gita, I messaged those and they showed us the first. I could that I did and Prabhupada in the third book, no individuality, but there is no disunity.
Yes.
And it is what blue way of intentionality and oneness. And that way is when I completely said that I can see that explanation. Oneness doesn't mean
It's unity. It doesn't mean that there's no individuality, it means there's no disunity. Yeah. Yeah, that's very important. Yeah, this is Bhagavad Gita chapter 15, text 16 purport, if you want to look it up. It's very nice, Prabhupada's definition of oneness. Sri Devi Mataji? Just wait for the mic.
First, I want to thank you for a really nice class. I was listening with rapt attention. It's very key for me. I just have to go all over the place. Thank you very much for preparing and grateful to you for that. The first one, actually I have two questions. My very first question was regarding the reference. You said that we meet the order of the spiritual master, our life and soul, and not think of anything else even in our dreams. So you just give me the reference of that, that's one. The second question I have is, as I was listening to you, I began to get a little understanding that it's really in my interest to surrender fully to Krishna. But something holds me back. No. How can I give everything to Krishna? How can I give something for me? Give all my money to the temple? What about me? Give all my time to devotional service, but then what about my family? What about my child, my husband, my father, my mother? So like this, there's always that conflict. So will you please share with us your tips for overcoming this conditioning, this block that prevents us from really surrendering to Krishna? Thank you.
Thank you. Nice question. So you're saying, what about me? Right, that's the question. What about me? If I give all my money, if I give all my time to Krishna, then what about me? But who are you? Part and parcel of Krishna. So you're part and parcel of Krishna. So when Krishna is satisfied, are you not satisfied being a part of him? That's what Prabhupada is saying in the purport, that like watering the wood of the tree, or supplying food to the stomach. That the hand's not thinking, what about me? I'm not going to give food to that stomach. We give Krishna, we become rich. By giving our time to Krishna, we go to a place where there's no time. Time is unlimited. We gain eternality. Understand? The reason we think we don't have any time is because we think we're going to die. But if we really understood who we are, that we are eternal beings, then where's the question of time? We may think, okay, well this life is limited, and I want to make it back to Godhead in this life. I don't want to come again. So then in that sense, we want to utilize every moment in Krishna consciousness, not waste a moment. That's one of the symptoms of Bhava Bhakti, is to utilize every moment in Krishna's service, not waste time. But we don't need to worry about keeping some time for ourselves, for our pampering ourselves or whatever. Of course, we should take care of ourselves to the extent it's required, because we're servants of Krishna. Our bodies are something else. Pankajangipur.
That is also not very important to us, that I is my Krishna consciousness, and also doesn't be any other. Prabhupada, he said, I found in the manifestation of Krishna consciousness on this principle of everything with the satisfaction of the spiritual life, which become the instruction become your life or soul. another reference is in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the chanting the songs of Lord Shiva. Yes, the chanting the songs that are in the language. But again, Prabhupada quotes that Vyasa would hear, and it says one should make the order of the Guru his life and soul. And not only should he find out ways that means to execute this order, but he should also worship.
Worship the order.
The order becomes worshipful because the order of the Guru is back to God. It becomes, it's worshipful. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm saying that because I'm trying to place that.
Yeah, and we can see that that's what Srila Prabhupada did in his own life. You know, he got a very specific instruction from his Guru, and he just did nothing but that. He overcame so many obstacles and just kept going. And that's why we're all sitting here today. Something else?
There's a story where Srila Prabhupada was having that argument with a Mayapur businessman here in India, who was sitting right across the table from him, and he was trying to get him to understand the difference between a cotton ball and a cotton shirt. The Mayapur was not getting it. He says, "Don't you see the difference between a cotton ball and a cotton shirt?" And he just kept shaking his head. Prabhupada got a little angrier. He says, "Don't you see the difference between a cotton ball and a cotton shirt?" And he still didn't get it. So Prabhupada actually reached across the table, grabbed him by the shirt, and then he laughed. And all the devotees were like stunned. Prabhupada actually grabbed him and shook him. But they could also see by that shaking, he actually understood. And then Prabhupada said to them, "Don't you do that. I can do that. Old men and young children can get away with things like that. Don't you do that."
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nitya Gaura Premanandi. Hari Hari.